Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Bad day to be a Michigan affiliate. Santa Ono shot down by the University of Florida when they were that was the only guy they recommended. He got shot down by their board of trustees. So dicey, not good for the old Wolverines. So people that can't read tea leaves are understanding that people that were associated with this aren't doing too hot. So with that being said, as always, I appreciate you guys being a huge part of what we do. Monster show yesterday. It is Hammer Week. So our coin term as they get into this weekend when they're going to ask Michigan a lot of questions and demand answers, and they'll have a time frame to respond. But yeah, it's all coming down this week. So it is officially Hammer Week. Super excited about that. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. If you want to do something magnificent and help us grow in a way that we can't even comprehend, follow us on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Again, we are growing that platform dramatically. We're getting great feedback from Apple. So thank you for that. Again, we are partners with them and YouTube. So we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that we are good partners for both of them. So the best thing you can do is just subscribe absolutely for free and leave us a review. It's the best thing you can ever do to help us. So with that being said, I got to bring in Nevada because this was one of those episodes that kind of writes itself when Santa Ono is basically denied as the next president of the University of Florida. He's already left his post as president at Michigan, thinking that this was a foregone conclusion, and he got voted down by the University of Florida, which I don't know how many times in the history of higher education I've seen somebody who was the lone candidate get voted down. He was the lone recommendation, so everyone obviously assumed that he was going to be the next president of the University of Florida, and he got blocked by a vote, and I think it was like 11-6 to not be the next president. Nevada, how damning is this? Because, obviously he was a tool. He was a complete tool shed when he was talking about bet and supporting Jim Harbaugh. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my university or anywhere near commencement or any of the rest of the activities that these presidents do, fundraising. But what are your thoughts on this when you initially read that Santa Ono was declined as University of Florida's next president?
Well, you remember, I mean, if you follow this podcast, I've told you guys weeks ago this was going to happen. So this is before Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, before any. I told you weeks ago Yoko Ono is not going to be approved as the president of the University of Florida. So, um, look, he's a guy that exercises incredibly bad judgment. The stuff with the athletics, or the open support of Connor Stallions, of Jim Harbaugh, the stupid tweets, everything else that he does, on top of just a bunch of mindless policies that the guy has. Um, I mean, I get totally unsurprising to me. My sources down in Florida are saying there's no way this guy is going to get approved. And so he can say all he wants, he's the only candidate, but he's not going to get through the board of trustees, and he didn't. So, yeah, Yoko Ono. I'm not sure what Michigan does right now. So does Michigan bring Yoko Ono back to Michigan? Um, you know, now that he's already left, and how do people respond to that? They've got to navigate the waters of this NCAA scandal. They've got to navigate a billion with a B dollar lawsuit that's going to be happening on this Matt Weiss stuff. They just found out that Yoko Ono was overseeing the Chinese Communist government bringing in biological pathogens to the University of Michigan research labs when he was there. So, I mean, this guy was a complete freaking disaster as the president of the university. Embarrassing that he's there. But I mean, how far has the Michigan brand just been completely devastated here over the last 3 years? It's crazy. I mean, it used to stand for something, and now, I mean, it just everything you think about it, it's just a joke. Every time you think about Michigan, you just think about the hypocrisy. The preening about we don't cheat. Our academic standards are so high. Our coaches do it the right way. We've never had a show cause. Look how great our president is. Look how wonderful our athletic director. I mean, everything that they stood for has just been shot down. And I think it's appropriate that it happened here on Hammer Week. And with you've got the hearing starting on Friday. Yoko Ono gets thrown out there at Florida. So I don't know what Michigan does right now. It'll be that will be fascinating to see. Do they try to take him back in and try to rehabilitate him? But when he's already announced he's left, and everybody's like, I mean, how if you've left a job and you make this big announcement and you're like, I'm leaving my job and going, and then you come back and like, oh, I didn't get the other job, I'm back here. I'm not sure that works out. I'm just not
Yeah.
sure that works out. And I think for Michigan, I mean, I really would have a hard time believing that they try to get the band back together with Yoko and Paul and George and Ringo and all the rest of the happy gang. But you never know with Michigan. I mean, you never know with Michigan, but on Hammer Week, Yoko Ono getting knocked down by the Board of Trustees down in Florida. Perfect segue, and a perfect emblem of what's happening to that program, what's going to happen to that program. Yoko Ono goes down, the football program's going down, Ward Manuel's going down, Harbaugh's already gone down, Partridge has already gone down, Stallions has already gone down. Uh, I mean, Sharon Moore will never coach another game at Michigan. So, I mean, how many bodies is this thing going to consume before we're done? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's really
I,
crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
well, I think that, thinking about the fact that he might return to Michigan, I mean, they've already got an interim president. He's not, there's just no way that you can bring him back after he walked and then he got denied at a lesser university. Like, that's I mean, Florida isn't anywhere near what Michigan is in terms of prestige and national brand. And, you get a Michigan business degree, that's a legit degree. It's like I'm near Ivy League, not quite Ivy League, but like maybe low tier Ivy League. Like, Florida's not in that discussion. Like, nobody's ever like, oh, you have a business degree from Florida. Give me a break. So you go into to school with Jarvis Moss and Brandon Spikes, like guys that can't even read. What are we talking about? So, I think that the fact that he got rejected by that school, which isn't, it's not a great school. It's not a Michigan caliber school. There's no way that you can resign from a job at like Michigan and then they can bring you back once you've been denied. Again, this is, you can't run out on your spouse and all of a sudden, hey, you know what? He doesn't want me no more. Do you want me back? I mean, that might work in the movies, but it ain't working in the practical life. But this guy, it's amazing. Again, I've seen administrators distance themselves from issues and coaches and players that have done stuff that might be questionable. I have not seen an administrator dive in headfirst and support something that was exceptionally questionable, like Santana did. Like Santana was tweeting like he was trying to be the cool kid and gain favor with the football players and the football coach and the boosters and the athletic director and whatever. And it was cringy at best and really dumb at worst. And it cost him a job that, frankly, he's making. I mean, if he had gone to Florida, he got like I think a 5-year deal for $1.5 million a year or $1.4 million a year. So it cost him a substantial amount of money, $7 million ish. So to go, to Gainesville, which is kind of the armpit of Florida. Nobody ever goes to vacation no one vacations in Gainesville. They might go to every other part of Florida: Sarasota, Palm Beach, Miami, Naples, Jacksonville, Daytona, the upper panhandle. Nobody goes to Gainesville for vacation. So it's kind of the armpit of Florida. But I don't think I've ever seen Nevada. I'm gonna ask you, because you're much older than me. You've been around a lot of board meetings and businesses. And how many times has a recommended candidate in a major position, in your prominent dealings, and just even stuff that you've just been on the periphery of, like maybe like a university like Ohio State or whatever, has the recommended candidate who was he was the only candidate. This wasn't like hey, the search firm recommends Santa Ono, and then the runner up is this person, and then the win play show is this person, this person, this person. She was the only guy that was recommended to the board of trustees to vote in as the next president, and it got declined. Which again, that's in the land of rarity. Like, that has to be pretty much near the top. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I've never seen it before. I've never seen a sole candidate presented to a board in any situation. An academic one, a business one. because normally you vet this stuff out. I mean, before you submit this, you've already, before you submit something for board review in a company, you've already taken a straw poll with the board. You already know how they're going to vote on it. You've gone to each one of the board members one on one. You've explained your position. You've explained the credentials of the person you're bringing. I mean, these things don't happen. These votes aren't a surprise. So for them to do this just it's a colossal misstep. But again, look at the whole Michigan scandal. The entire Michigan scandal has been just one giant colossal misstep after another. It's been, yeah, you talk about him trying to be the cool kid. I mean, he was actually tweeting about Connor Stallions being. I mean, like what in the world was this guy doing? I mean, there's no justification for some of the positions that he's taken for his, absolute blind support for Jim Harbaugh when it was so patently obvious to everyone in the world that Harbaugh was a pathological liar and had taken liberties with the truth, had pushed things and policies on his staff members that were just illegal, and this guy was just he was supported. You would think he would have way better information than we did, and we knew you and I are two couple of yokels on a podcast. We knew way more than Santo Yoko Ono I knew about what was going on in his program. So it's kind of crazy that it went down the way that it did. That he would allow himself to be kind of painted into these corners, these just taking these just terrible, terrible spots because you look ridiculous when you support someone when they're so obviously guilty. I mean, and now even the most ardent Michigan fans I mean, I don't think. I mean, Michigan fans are pretty stupid. It's collectively. It's got to be the dumbest fan base in all of college. Don't you agree with that, Kurt? That there's
Oh,
no fan base that's
easily,
the dumber than Michigan. I mean, for a
easily.
great academic, because I think it's like 99% of the fans never went to Michigan. They're just from
Oh,
Michigan,
yeah.
which breeds dumb people. And
They're
so it's
from
just a
they're
bunch.
from they're from they're from Ohio too, because there's a bunch of douchebag Michigan fans in the state of Ohio. So you guys can make sure you play this clip for them, because Michigan fans that live in the state of Ohio are the dumbest and biggest douchebags in the entire world. Just because they like the Fab Five or Jimmy Jackson or Chris Webber or Charles Woodson, they're douchebags. And I was proud to extinguish them, because like from '04 to 0 whatever until Urban left, like we didn't see a Michigan fan in the state of Ohio for like almost 2 decades. And now they like run rampant. They're like varmints that you just wish you had a gun that you could shoot. Go ahead and continue, Nevada.
No, I was gonna say, if you're 60 years old and you're still posting bikini pictures, stop. Don't do it, man. It's
I'm so
time to
done.
hang it up. That you must be a Michigan fan at that
You
point.
must.
But I digress. But
Oh my
no,
god.
I think for Michigan fans right now, I mean, you can't be supporting Harbaugh because all that's been laid bare. The Stallions, I guess I guess they're still supporting Stallion. They're still going with the he did nothing. Are they going with I've lost track. Are they on to he did nothing wrong or he was the lone wolf and nobody knew it? But where do you think they're at in the process right now?
I mean, again, they are really dumb, so it's tough. It's hard to say. The you can't call him the lone wolf. Again, we've debunked that so many times. Again, when you're on a podcast and you're talking to a guy who I was Connor Science, I was the low level guy trying to make it. And again, when you're a guy making, peanuts, like I made 17 grand, Connor made 50 grand, and Jim Harbaugh's making, at his peak, like 8 grand, his when Ward Manuel made him take a pay cut, he went down to like 4 grand. Now he's making like 20 grand off the Chargers. You do whatever it takes to impress that guy. And Keenan Bailey is like the master of it. Like Keenan Bailey did more stuff to circumvent things and get around and gain, he became the apple of Ryan Day's eye. And now he's a full-time coach, he's a tight ends coach. And I talked to coaches, and some of the stuff that was going on, I was like, it's a little whatever. And again, I don't really care. It's whatever, but good on Keenan, because when you're an intern and you're making nothing, and then you're a GA and you're making a little bit, and then you're a quality control coach and they're paying you, and then all of a sudden you're the number one quality, you're there for 8 years, and all of a sudden Kevin Wilson leaves and they need a tight ends coach and they promote you, so all of a sudden you're the guy and you're making like you're making 600-700 grand a year. which is great. But you gotta figure out a way to impress the head coach. So, like Connor Stalions is a lot like Keenan Bailey in terms of they figured out a way to, finesse the head coach and become kind of the teacher's pet and grow up in the organization, and try to get promoted. Because I mean, Connor's goal was to be the head coach at Michigan. So, easiest way to do that is to work as a gremlin, become a quality control coach, maybe become a position coach eventually, be dedicated to Michigan. If you're exceptional, eventually become a coordinator, and then Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL, then he might be the next head coach. So again, that was his pathway, and he figured out a way to become meaningful. Because again, when you're just some random naval midshipman dude, and all of a sudden you become this genius who's like an irreplaceable part of the program, you can rise in the ranks. You become the linebackers coach, or become the D line coach, or D tackles coach, and become the coordinator, and then become the head coach. So I think when you look at his path, it's funny because he knew what he was doing. And I've said it a million times. Like, if you can catch the eye of the coach, but there's an art to it. It's not just being, a teacher's pet. It's not just, filling up his coffee. It's like doing something that's actually meaningful, that the full-time coach is like, damn, that's really good. That's a really good thing that he did there. And it's not just, hey, this is how I'd run this player, or this is how I'd coach this drill. It's like, it's gonna be something like legit like that. And so Connor did. So all of a sudden he's the apple of the eye. And like I said, and I've said this a million times, and you guys probably don't believe me, but like, I don't think off the field coaches, my rule is like, if they can leave you behind on a weekend, like if we're going to play Michigan, or they're going to play Michigan State, and they can leave you behind, like, and nothing really changes, you probably don't need a ring, and you probably don't have to do a photo shoot with your gear on or anything or whatever. Cause like eventually, like I knew if the team left me behind, as helpful as I was, like the team could probably still get the job done. That's Urban. You can't say that about Urban. Can't say that about the coordinators. Can't say about Jim Knowles or Matt Patricia or Brian Hartline or Chip Kelly. But some of the lower guys you could. But with Connor, I don't think that they could have been anywhere near as prolific without him. So that's kind of the line of delineation where all of a sudden he's so important that he's got to be at the front of the line and next to the coordinators. Because again, I've been around the block. I've seen a lot of interns. I've seen a lot of low level staffers. I've never seen any of them talk to our coordinators when they're down on the field calling plays. And this is coming from, I talked to Tom Herman in between series, not during the series. I've told you guys a million times. The only time I ever told Tom Herman my opinion on a play was when Urban was trying to overrule Tom on a play, and he wanted to run it key one short in the Purdue game. You guys remember the Purdue game in 2012? It was overtime miracle from Chris Fields, and Jeff Hartman scored the 2-point conversion. I mean, it was a miracle of God that we won that game, and we sucked. We were so bad. But like, Urban wanted to run right at their best player, and I told Tom Herman, I'm like, look, I know I'm a GA, and I know that I'm not anything. I'm a pellet of sand in this entire machine that is Ohio State football in 2012. But if we run at that guy when we haven't blocked him all day, you guys are going to get fired. Because I was like, I'm done. Like in 50 days, I'm out of the program. I have my MBA in finance done, locked in. I've got a job secured, but you guys are going to get fired. So I don't care what you guys want to do. But if we run at Kiwan short, man, it's not going to end up well, and you guys are going to get booed out of the stadium. So we ran the tight end play to Jeff Hartman, the Y hide, and Jeff kind of screwed it up, but he still caught the ball. We won the game, and the rest is history. So yeah, Nevada, as we keep going through Hammer Week, what else are you looking forward to? Because this is kind of the beauty of the show, is that, 5 hours ago, we had no idea that this was going to happen. And then this popped, and we're just like, oh my God, we have to talk about Santa Ono getting declined as the only candidate. This is like a presidential election in a dictatorship country where they've got one candidate and somehow it gets declined. That's what this was. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, no, it's been great. Hammer Week's given me a chance to kind of go back through my notes on this entire scandal, and I mean, I don't know if you remember when this thing first broke. Now, I have a guy that I used to coach with in Manhattan Beach, who's a Naval Academy guy, was a part of the football program when Stallions was there, and he swears that Stallions was trying to do this at Navy, and that they thought that this was an honor violation, and that this thing got brought up to none other than President Ted Carter. when he was there. So I've heard that from my friend who was there at Navy, and I heard that from a prominent Ohio State booster who both heard it from Ted Carter. So it's fun. You know, this thing didn't just start with Stallions kind of sitting there wandering around and wandering someday into Michigan and kind of doing it. The seeds of this thing had to be when he was there at Navy. The difference is that Navy has an honor code, and so for Navy, this would have been no. Of course, we're not going to do this. You can't believe you're even suggesting this. But for Michigan, it was great, and I'm sure he presented himself as like you remember back when he before he deleted his LinkedIn profile and everything, he was talking about counterintelligence and all these different things. Like he was some sort of crypto spy from the NSA that worked for the Naval Academy. And look, all service is honorable. Anybody who goes through the academy is great. But nothing but respect for the military. You guys know that. But he was a supply officer, and that's fine. We need supplies too. But that's the furthest thing away from some cryptologist, code breaker, Navajo code talker, or whatever the heck that he was trying to present himself as when he was going there to Michigan to get this job. And that's how he presented himself. I guarantee you, I'd love to get my hands on the early resume from Connor Stallions talking about this, because I'm sure he was the guy that claimed he broke the purple code during World War II and knew that the Midway was the target where the carriers were going to be, and he turned the tide of the war with his cryptology, um, because he's a liar. Connor Stallions, he's got these grandiose, visions of himself. I'm sure he just described his time at the Naval Academy where he's just, breaking codes and working on the Enigma and other things like that. When in reality, he was making sure everybody had the right size boxer shorts and stuff. But again, very honorable, very honorable service and stuff like that. But he's not the great American hero. He's not the guy that's got the Medal of Honor awarded to him or whatever. He's just Connor freaking Stallions, the guy that brought down the Michigan football program, the guy that was the used vacuum cleaner repair salesman LLC co-owner with Blake Corum, who didn't know anything about being an LLC co-owner with Blake Corum, because everybody does that. Everybody signs an LLC document and just puts random names of people on his co-owner. I do it all the time. I do. I put Elon Musk on there. I put Nancy Pelosi. I just put random names of people on stuff like that, and I just file them. And it's kind of cool because, like, I'm just thinking maybe that
Uh,
somebody will they'll show up. They'll show up at the LLC meetings, and I'll be sitting there, and Elon will show up, or Nancy will
uh,
show up, or whatever. Jasmine Crockett will roll in, and it'll be on. It'll be awesome. So, hey, good times, man. Connor Stallions and I both have a lot of time. We both assign random names to LLC documents.
yeah, we should. Why did we do that? I mean, me and you were on it, and our other owners are on it. It's like, why didn't we add Elon to the Buckeye Scoop and Bill Gates? And because again, you'd
Je-
think that'd be really smart
dude,
to do,
dude,
right?
dude. Jessica Alba.
And
Jessica
Jessica
Alba.
on CEO chairwoman, Honest Products,
Oh, put her
like
on
a
there. Put her on there. Just
blue crush
Jessica.
star, blue star, blue crush.
Jessica, we're having a meeting. You are a member of our LLC. Can you
Dana
come to
White,
Papa
dude,
John's?
Dana White, Dana, we need a table. Come
Oh,
on, Dana, Dana,
Uncle Dana,
table,
Uncle.
Uncle Dana. Uncle Dana, I sent Nevada one of the greatest videos ever, and I'll post it on the Buckeye Scoop. But it's like he's like, Las Vegas is the greatest city in the world because you can leave you can go out at night, have with $200, have the best time in the history of mankind, and then wake up the next morning with $1,500 in your pocket. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why Nevada and I are big Vegas guys. But it's Nevada. That's never happened to you, has it?
No, I've left and looked for the money in my pocket and not been able to found nothing but lint and just where's my watch? Where's my shoes? Where's my
Where's my watch?
where's my car? Where's my
Yeah,
car?
where's my
I told you thing
where,
about my car the one
where's
time.
my black button down at?
My car. I called the police. They had the police thing, and they walled out. They call me back 5 minutes later. Nevada, your car's parked right here in front of the building. Like,
Yeah, it's
oh
literally
yeah, that's
the,
where it was. That's where it was. That really happened.
the valet has it. He's got
It
your keys ready to
literally was
go.
in front
It's
of
like
the building. They found it in front of the building.
jiggling keys. Somebody stole
Uh,
it. It had to have
somebody's
been.
It's not in my parking spot. I filed a report. I did the whole thing. The detectives in
Oh my
there.
god.
We will find this. This can't tell. This is ridiculous. They found it in 5 minutes. They found it in
Oh
five
my
minutes.
god. They had the
Las Vegas
powder,
Metro.
the powder on like the door handle and on the on everything. They got the sweets and
I had
prints.
CSI out there. They're doing those things,
Yeah.
luminol, doing everything like that. We were
Yeah.
blowing the place. Everything was going. No, they found it in front of the building. That
It's
happened.
literally you actually threw $500 at the Valley and told him to keep it right in the front. Keep my
That
Grand
literally.
National right in the front. Keep my was it
That
T Cat, your T Bird, Thunderbird,
that little.
Thundercat.
That literally. That literally happened. That's a true story. Oh man.
Oh
Oh,
God.
good times. Good times.
Young Las Vegas Thunderbuck. All right,
Oh
let's
my
get into super.
goodness. Yes.
Let's get into super chats.
It's Hammer Week. It's Hammer Week. So I'm excited,
dude,
man. It's Hammer
dude.
Week on the Scoop. This is the best week of the year. I mean,
You know what
the
would be
2 weeks I look forward to are Shark Week on Discovery and Hammer Week on the Scoop. Those are my favorite weeks of the year.
the only thing
You
that
ever
would
see
be
you
better?
watch the shark? Do you ever watch the Shark Week episodes where they go to that island off like down the coast and the sharks like jump out of the water and do like the flips and stuff like
Yes,
that? And
it's
yeah,
the
it's pretty
best.
cool. That is the best.
If you just held a hammer up and it struck you with lightning, and we made that like the thumbnail for tomorrow, that'd be pretty
I,
fire.
I'd be Thor. That'd make me Thor.
You'd be like,
Okay,
Come on,
who's the
Gibraltar, don't score a goal. Do not
who's the
score."
only
My girls.
person that ever be able to grab the hammer other than Thor? Captain America. Captain America was the
It
only one
wasn't.
able to.
It wasn't the big purple guy. It wasn't. Oh god, who's the
Thanos.
big? It wasn't Thanos. I mean, he destroyed the
I
whole
don't know.
universe. He could pick up a hammer.
Yeah, maybe he could. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he could. Maybe
Was
he
it?
can.
Was it Santo Ono? No. Was it Connor Steins' mom? Because she picked
Yoko
up the hammer.
or
Connor Steins' mom picked up the hammer the same time she picked up the tickets to the Rutgers at Illinois game.
oh my gosh,
She's like,
Kirk Barton,
I got a
looking
hammer,
for
and I've
that,
got two tickets on my Ticketmaster app on my phone, and the
looking for
hammer
that
at the same
gift
time.
for Grandma Barton. Here you go, Grandma.
Hey,
Purdue, Iowa.
you
Purdue.
guys want that? Hey, I'm just telling you, and we don't have any sort of special. We don't have any sort of endorsement. But Father's Day is coming up. If you want to really
Yeah.
take care of Dad, get him that Illinois versus Grambling game. Get him those tickets. You see the FAMU at Purdue. It's like I love you. FAMU at Michigan State. And Connor sounds like, well, I bought tickets for everybody and everybody I know, and I just love them. And there's no rule that says my mom and dad can't go to the Grambling Michigan State game, because I'm a genius and oh my god, I'm James Bond. All right, Kevin Newton, thanks for the 5. He says, just watched the greatest run in college football history for the 33rd time. It never gets old. Blessed to be a Buckeye at Nevada OH. So Nevada, I assume that's Ezekiel versus Bama. Is there a better run in Ohio State history, or am I missing that?
Well, that's probably got to be it. I mean, it's not the greatest run in Ohio State history, in my opinion, but it certainly was one of the most significant runs in Ohio State history. I think the greatest. Look, frankly, the greatest run in Ohio State history might have been Beanie '06 Michigan game, where he spun off the guy in the
Where
backfield and
Rory
went for
Nickel
the
just
finish.
completely whiffed, and Sean Crable, who should have went to Ohio State, was
Yeah,
stupid. And Sean Crable, who's an idiot, and claimed, "Well, I'll get a better educational degree from Michigan and the prestige of my general studies degree." And I'm like, dude, like, just because you're gonna go to Michigan, you're gonna get like a master's in reading tread tire. That doesn't mean that you're gonna be smarter than all the Ohio State guys that I don't know, go to Ohio State, get a finance degree like I did, And then all of a sudden you get to live in Ohio and everybody loves you, as opposed to being a moron douchebag who goes to Michigan and then you move back to Canton and you're like, man, nobody really wants to help me. It's like, I wonder why. Because you got a tread tire reading degree that says general studies as a major on it. And all of a sudden it's just like, huh, maybe you're stupid. And again, like I I don't have ill will, but I really do. Because these guys, they had a shot to go to Ohio State. I mean, he was in my class, was Prescott. And those guys, they want to be cute. And again, you have to understand, Prescott Burgess, nice player. But when I met him and I saw that he had a tongue ring and he's a male, I was like, yeah, Michigan's probably the place for you. Because I don't want my middle linebackers we had Schlegel as our middle linebacker, and he was out, slicing boars' necks and deadlifting in boots and jeans and drinking creatine inside of his coffee with like meth mixed into it. And like that's what I want my middle linebacker to be. And Schlegel, back when he played, was like 270 pounds playing middle linebacker and fat with a big cowboy collar and knee brace. And when people ran to the A gap against Schlegel, man, it was going to be, you're going to be paying a big price. And he tattooed me a couple of times and I tried to block him, but I got him enough times. So it wasn't like it was a one-way street. But if my middle linebacker had a tongue ring, I don't know. And again, I think that's why Prescott was 0 for his career versus the Bucks. Minus the 0-3 game where he might have played on special teams. But what it was, the nitty gritty, that tongue ring ain't gonna save you versus the big bad Buckeyes. All right, Pooh Beard, thanks for the deuce, appreciate you. Nevada, Pooh Beard, who's an off remember? He just says bet Nevada. Nevada, I know that there's the hard part for me and you, Nevada, is that the word bet has a very negative connotation when it comes to the hammer in Michigan. But in our normal life, that is probably our favorite word in the entire English language. So where do you come down on the quote bet?
Yeah, it's hard. It's kind of ruined it for me because every time I hear that, I literally do think of Yoko Ono. I do. I think of that smug, arrogant piece of doodly do that went out there and just flipping off the NCAA, flipping off the Big Ten. Just oh, we'll see if Jim Harbaugh has to serve a suspension. Bet and what happened? And then they fold, and he serves the suspension. It just the whole thing was just yeah. The worst thing about it was that they won. The best thing about it was that we won the next year and stole their souls. And the next best thing is going to be when the NCAA doesn't recognize the 2023 season and the CFP gets stripped away from them. So karma is a biatch, and sometimes it takes time, but what goes around comes around, and it's coming around now.
I agree. Schaefer Healthcare, thanks for the 20. Appreciate my duty. Says, my prediction is they vacate the wins for 21, 22. They do not lose 23 natty. They absolutely should, but the NCAA is too soft for that. I also see a 2 or 3 year bowl ban. What say you? Nevada, go first.
Well, it's funny. We've talked about Kirk and I have talked about this in terms of our expectations. The problem for me on 23, I don't know how they get away on 23 because 23 was the year that Connor Stalions was on the sideline at Central Michigan. So you had a staffer on the sideline of a Michigan State game in disguise filming. So I don't know how they don't lose the first 6 or 7 games of 23. I think the only jump ball for me is 1 year bowl ban or multiple year bowl ban. I don't know. I feel like if the NCAA is going to go soft on anything, it's not going to be zero, but they might go, we're going to vacate 21, we're going to vacate 22, we're going to vacate 23, the national championship. We'll only give them one. We don't want to punish the kids that weren't. That'd be the only thing that I would think about that could possibly go. Sharon Moore's toast. He's going to get a year suspension minimum. He's going to get, there's going to be show causes handed out like, like Halloween candy around the Barton household in late October. And, I don't think anybody from an administration or anybody's going to survive this thing. I think that entire place is going to be gutted. And I think, once they do get their multiple year or at least year bowl ban again, which is why they would have been smart to self-impose. Had they self-imposed last year when they were staring at everybody in the world knew they were going to lose 5 games or more last year. We knew that, you knew that, everybody knew that. Why they didn't take it last year, just the height of arrogance, the height of stupidity. And I'll tell you right now, Michigan will not be bowl eligible this year, but we know that they're not going to be bowl. I mean, they're not going to be, playoff worthy anyway. So it's not, again, they'd be really smart to get ahead of this and self-impose. But I'm still going with lose 21, 22, 23. Sharon Moore fired and 2-year bowl ban. Final answer.
Yeah, I think that I think the bowl ban is going to be critical. I think that the scholarship thing you can't really do anymore with the NIL because you can still just pay for walk-ons, but the bowl ban will be at least a year. It could easily be 2 years. I think all 3 seasons get wiped out when he's a part of the team, and he's deciphering the signals. And you got to remember, like people say, well, 23 won't be affected. I'm like, well, he was on the sideline of the game. I mean, he's on the sideline of the Central Michigan game. Like, I mean, how do you not? Punish that severely. I mean, again, I talked to, Nevada offline this morning, and I'm like, Jim McElwain, who made like $1.2 million or $1.3 million as the head coach at Central Michigan, just randomly resigned. Or no, excuse me, retired. He's like 62 years old. Like 62 years old in coaching is like being like 25 years old and just randomly retiring from a company that you're working for. So they went to him. Mind you, his one staffer was fired with cause, the guy that let Connor Stalions in, and they went with him and said, hey, you're a part of this. You let this happen, so we can either fire you with cause or you can retire. So if you want to save face, you can retire and skate off into the night, or we can fire you with cause. You're not going to get your money either way. So let's save face. Because again, coaches, show me in the history of college football where a coach who had 2 years left on his contract, making over $1 million a year, just retired that young, 62 years old, or whatever it is. I was just like, dude, he was fired. And again, this company said, hey, you can either retire, resign, but retire at 62. It's in coaching. That's okay. He retired. He didn't resign in disgrace, and there's a lot less smoke that comes when you say you're retiring. Oh, I don't want to spend time with the grandkids, and I want to go make sure that they're okay. And I've missed so much time because I've been coaching for so long and whatever. But that's not how coaching works. Coaching is a narcotic. These guys, once they're hooked in, man, like Dick LeBeau, man, he was like 80 years old, beat a defensive coordinator. And most of these guys that are in it, man, they're lifers. They die on the sideline. Just as what it is. I mean, Bill Belichick's like 80 years old. He's coaching at North Carolina right now and hooking his kid up and whatever. So that's the fascinating thing to me is that people don't seem to see the gravity of this because, again, I think they lose 23 because even if you boil it all down and you say, okay, the scouting somehow was, whatever. And again, when you've got paper trail of tickets getting transferred, you've got money, you've got the film that they're going to find on the cloud servers, you've got Connor Stalions, and you've got all of this evidence. The fact that he actually went on an opposing team's sideline, dressed up like he was a coach on the opposing team, and wore like his little Meta or Google Ray-Ban spyglasses or whatever. And he stood on there and he's looking down on the sideline when the guy runs out of bounds. Again, we've broken that clip down a million times. Like, that's literally insane. And that's what I said. I was like, no matter what anybody else says, I was like, you should be fired immediately if you're Jim Harbaugh, if you're Sharon Moore, if you're the coach, if you allow your coaching staff member, which this guy made $50,000 a year, which in coaching when you're a 25-year-old or 20, however old he was, that's a lot of money for a young coach. And all of a sudden he gets to take the night off with the team. So they played the next morning at noon, and he said, hey, I'm going to go scout Michigan State, and I'm going to go see if I can get their signals, and hey, see who their live guy is. And I'm going to wear my spy glasses. Because again, you got to remember when you're in those Google spy glasses, instead of having your stringer stand there and hold the camera for 3 hours like this, and video the signaler, Connor says just look at the guy and get a crystal clear view and save all that, and store it. So it's just like, it cost Jim McElwain his job. It cost that coaching staff their jobs. Because again, when a head coach retires or is fired, like those guys all get to move along. So there's a lot of collateral damage. But I appreciate you, Schaefer. So I think it'll be a bowl ban. I think they'll vacate 21, 22, 23. Gio did it. Thanks for the 5. My favorite run was Keith Byers' 70-yard one-shoe touchdown run. 41 doesn't get talked about enough. Nevada, what is your favorite run in Ohio State history?
Well, it's funny because we've talked. I just said Beanie in '06, and I was thinking Byers, the shoeless Byers run. Uh, I think that was against Illinois. I think it was a game we won 45-38. But that was a long time ago, so my memory could be faulty on that. But yeah, that was. I mean, look, there have been so many. There have been so many. I'd have to go through and really think about it. Just one between the thing with the Byers run was, the game wasn't particularly important. It wasn't playing Alabama for the right to go to the national championship, or, to beat Michigan in the horseshoe in a 1 versus 2. It was just Illinois. But boy, that was a heck of that was a heck of a run. And anybody who saw it, I saw it live, live on television. I was not there at the stadium. I saw it live on television. You never forgot it because it was crazy, But I mean, I just think about Ohio State football, like how much. I mean, and you're probably different. You probably are different because you're a player and you're a coach. I'm sure you're kind of jaded to this stuff, but I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan of the Buckeyes, and I get so much genuine enjoyment out of watching the games, even watching the old games. I used to watch them. I used to have people that would record them. They had recorded some of the great games in Ohio State history, and they had them on disc, and they would send me the discs, and I would watch, like the '85 Iowa Ohio State game, or just some of the great, the LSU game where Bobby Olive caught the pass, or the Iowa game that they came back in. I think it was in '86 or '85. I mean, I love watch that stuff, and it takes you back to where you were. I can still remember every memory in terms of doing it, but yeah, I remember the Byers thing like it was yesterday, watching it on my TV and yelling as that guy ran, and just thinking, wow, this guy deserves to win the Heisman Trophy, and thinking he had it wrapped until Flutie threw that miracle pass, and I'm like, oh no. Byers is he's gonna get screwed, and then that was literally the difference.
So, are you asking me what are my favorite runs in Ohio State history?
Well, or do you look at it the same way? Are you like a super fan the same way? Because I all I can remember about Kirk Barton, if you guys followed the great mega cast that Kirk Barton did for the national championship, I'm gonna
What
replay
did I sound?
Kirk.
What did I sound like? No,
Kirk
tell me real quick, Nevada. What did I sound like? Can you please pretend you're me
yeah,
and tell me
Kirk
what did I
Barton's
sound like?
tall.
Jeremiah Smith deep shot
Okay,
clinched the
here,
national title.
okay, here we go.
2024 national championship. Ryan Day like
You
this with
you
the
be you
the
you
championship like this.
you be Chris
All
Fowler. You be Chris Fowler calling the play. Okay, Howard
right.
goes back to pass. Deep shot there. Is it Kirk Barton? Yeah, deep pass. JJ's got it. Okay, yeah, first down.
Says first
That was the
down. I just hope
no. You
Nevada
didn't.
doesn't. I hope. Oh, I just said I hope Nevada doesn't hide after this one like he did the Michigan game.
That
I
was
was
the
ready for the
worst
post
call.
game show. Nevada. I was
That
like,
was
I
the
just hope
worst
Nevada.
call. Oh my
Nevada's got
god.
his. I was just hoping that when you were in the stadium at the Mercedes-Benz Dome with your amazing family and you're sitting in that suite, I was hoping they had a power cord and a charger for your rascal scooter to be charged up in turbo mode so you could get home within 2 hours so we could do a post game show. And
Dude,
you'd
I
be sitting
collect.
there, you'd be in
No,
that rascal scooter.
no. Hold on.
Where you get
You. No, I was collecting trash there on the way out of there.
you had the basket full of hot dog
I
wrappers,
had
national
I had
championship.
the national
If you
champ trash.
subscribe to Buckeye Scoop, we will Nevadabuck will mail you national championship trash. He got the
I will
hot
do
dog
that.
wrappers. He got the styrofoam cups. He got
People, the gear, you bought the gear, there's going to be some trash that's thrown
yes,
in there. That's national championship trash. Some
national
of it
championship trash.
might even been Nevada bucks. If there's
Pizza crust.
like a pizza crust. I got trash from the national championship. So you scoff, you laugh, you're like, oh yeah,
uh,
nobody wants trash for the national championship. Our fans want the trash for the national
I
championship
can't
game.
wait till let me see the whole thread. So, well, I probably just sprayed my Nevada Buck pizza crusts in front of me. I was like, damn, Nevada had 6 pieces of pizza. he
He
was
was hungry. He was
I
so
was like,
hungry. It
I
was
was like,
cheap. It was cheap, and I was so hungry.
I know it's only $3 at the Benz Dome.
It was
I was like, man,
unbelievable.
he didn't take that shot yet, so he still had an appetite.
No, I know. I was so hungry. I was so hungry.
Give me some more food. Oh, my favorite run. My favorite run that really iced it was the Pittman run. When Antonio broke it loose versus Notre Dame, we ran 37 lead to the left and they blitzed off the edge. And when we played Notre Dame in the '05 Fiesta Bowl, which was the AJ Hawk, Dayton Brady's sister banging his sister, whatever, that was like the biggest thing ever. Like, I hated Brady Quinn. I hated Charlie Weiss. I hated Notre Dame and their pompous, stupid arrogance. And, we were roughnecks. We were like the Raiders. We went out and partied all the time, had a great time. And when they ran that blitz, because all week we practiced it, when they blitz, we want to run right into it, pick the whole thing up and split it. And we did. It worked perfect. And like when he broke free and that iced the game, that was amazing. Obviously, Beanie in 2007 versus Michigan when we were up there in the icy rain and he broke two long ones and he had 200 yards. That was amazing. But, his second touchdown, which was incredible, it didn't really ice the game. We still had to like grind it out. And there was a lot of time left. It was 13-3 and they couldn't do anything on offense. But Pittman's run against Notre Dame, it iced the game. It was over. Like they couldn't come back from that point. So that's my favorite run because I love Antonio Pittman and he's a great firefighter in Columbus now, which is awesome. And I'll see those guys. I got invited to another trestle function, so I'll be head to toe Buckeye Scoop with my little sandals on and my little shorts, and it'll be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for it. But that's a great question. I appreciate your Geo did. General Chrome. This is great. All right, thanks for the 20. He says Michigan doesn't want this to go to court. It will give the NCAA discovery and subpoena power. Uncle T, Hairball, Science, and Sharon will stand under oath. Bank and phone records subpoenaed. It would be so much worse. Nevada, I could not agree more. That's one of the greatest super chats we've ever had because, again, once you get the subpoena stuff, I mean, we've lived in this world where all of a sudden, if you want us to pull out all the skeletons, it's going to make us look really good. It's going to make our opponents look really stupid and bad and poor. And that's kind of what's happened in our lives when people have gone against us. But what are your thoughts? Do you agree that Michigan does not want this to go to court?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're gonna. First of all, there's no really mechanism for them to do that unless the NCAA violates their own statutes. The NCAA is being very careful not to do that. Michigan, but mark my words on this. Much like everything that I've said, been prophetic about everything on this scandal. I'm going to tell you right now, Michigan, when this stuff gets handed down, you're going to see all this stuff from Chris Ballas and all the rest of the morons of the Michigan beat. Oh, Michigan's gonna sue. They don't want the smoke. We've got the lawyers, and they'll be screaming and bet, and all the stuff. And then they're just gonna slink and take the punishment. But they'll be screaming about it, but they would never, ever, ever dream of seeing the light of a real courtroom. And just for all the reasons that you said and more. Um, I mean, Michigan's so guilty in this. This one's really kind of this is probably the best documented case in the history of the NCAA because this was investigated by a third party firm before they handed everything to the NCAA. So the NCAA got not only the master spreadsheet, not only the videos, they got videos of Michigan people videoing. So like they've got them dead to rights on this, and there's really no defense other than throw themselves on the mercy of the court. But the time for that was long gone. They thumbed their nose, they destroyed evidence, they impeded the investigation. They wouldn't cooperate. They openly threatened the NCAA. They openly threatened the Big Ten. So yeah, no, they don't want to see the light of a courtroom, but they will talk about it. So you'll hear all these rumblings and stuff about that, but it'll never happen.
I agree. All right, we got our boy Yoder on here for the 5. Yoder, he says, "What's a scandal? Is that a Spanish scanner?" Nevada, what was the bet we had with Yoder? Didn't Funky have a bet with him for like $2,500? What was it? Can we confirm this right now?
Yeah, the bet we have with the bet we have with Yoder is $2,000 that he said that there will not be a single game vacated. Vacated, forfeited, anything in terms of like go backwards, erasure of results. He said there will be zero, and we've got $2,000 on that. So that's our
Sounds good,
bet.
Yoder. That'll be fun. You can confirm it, Yoder, right in the super chat. I appreciate you, my dude.
Yeah,
Uh,
just write bet in the super
yeah, just
chat.
right bet. Like
Yeah,
your
just write
Yoko
bet.
like your Yoko Ono. It'll
Like,
be perfect.
exactly.
All right, Colonel Angus, thanks for the 5. How would it go if Urban called a play and you said, "No, coach, that's a dumb play. Let's run this instead"? Well, Urban never called a play in his career, but if Tom Herman would have said that, I might have been told to f off. But and I sat next to Jim Bowman when he was the play caller, in 10 and 11. But I think I didn't tell Urban it was a dumb play to run because Urban wanted to run right at Kewan Shorty, wanted to run 13 book, which is our signature read option play, and run right at their best player. And again, I told Tom Herman, like, look, if we call this, or you guys are getting fired. I'm not getting fired because I'm a GA and I'm out of here in 2 months anyways. But you guys are gonna get fired. You guys get booed out of the stadium. You guys are like morons. Because again, I'm a big proponent of don't let the best player on the other team beat me. So if the number two person does it or the three person, but when they have one really good player who's like a NFL Pro Bowler, and then the rest of the guys are just dudes, go at the guys that are just dudes. Don't go at the Pro Bowler, in my opinion. So Nevada, do you agree? Do you think that's how it would go if Urban called a play and I said, no, coach, that's a dumb play, run this instead? What are your thoughts?
No, I want to see better what would have happened if when Luke Fickle was the defensive coordinator. If you just gone up there and just grab Luke and be like, "Hey, Luke, they're gonna throw to the back on this play," and you were like grabbing at his ankle and yelling at him or something like that. How would that have gone if you tried to do that?
Well, I mean, he just killed me. You know what I mean? Because he's got his like I said. I mean, he's already these coordinators have already worked through the game mentally, and they've gone through their series, and they know how they feel, and they've done the work with the players. So it's for me to just come in there and ad libs, hey, we should do this. Like they've put in so much more work than you, because again, they have to mentally work the game that they're going to call. Again, it's like when you're going into, a poker game or card match or whatever, it's like you kind of have an idea of what you want to do and how it's going to go. And if it goes this way or that way, you kind of have a plan for it. But when you're just some guy like me, who's just like haphazardly going through it, like it's just not going to work out well. That's why it was so funny when Connor Science is like dancing around next to these two coordinators. I was like, okay, like, again, if I'm a play caller, if I'm Sean Moore, I'm walking around that sideline, I got my whole play sheet and whatever, like the odds I would let an intern talk to me when I'm making multiple millions of dollars and he's making 50 grand are about zero. Because, again, my livelihood with my wife, my kids, it's a lot more important to me. And I don't need anybody to interrupt me unless they give me a crazy advantage, which he did. So that's the whole genesis of everything is like, look, I'm not going to listen to you, but if you can give me something that'll give me this like silver bullet to just destroy everybody in my path, I'll listen to you and I'll take your thing. And again, that's why I said these coordinators knew what was going on, because I'm not going to listen to some intern unless he goes through his process. Okay, if I'm going to call this based on what you're telling me, what's your process? Like, how thorough is this? Is this just some haphazard, like you pick up grass and throw it in the air, and if it goes this way, it's a run. And if it goes this way, like give me your process. And when the kid's like, well, I pick all their signs, and then I have this database, and then I break this down, and then I go through flashcards on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and then Thursday night I reprep it, and then Friday I redraw it, and then first quarter I decipher it, and then I figure out who the signaler is. And then by the second series I know who the guy is, and it's just like these guys knew, and it's just crazy how
Yeah, but Kirk, let's stay with that just for a second, because I think it's really one of the most relevant things in this whole scandal. Is I'm trying to imagine in my mind the conversations that went through, that started and then ended with Connor Stallions sitting by their side, interrupting them in the middle of games, interrupting their game thought, their game preparation, everything they do. Like, I mean, it had to be crazy. I mean, there's no chance that if somebody says something ridiculous to you and you're a coach and they go, "Well, I watched the TV thing and I picked the science," you're immediately you go, "No, that doesn't happen. That you just lied to me. I know that doesn't happen. No, nobody with a functioning brain or an IQ over 80 believes you can pick it up. So tell me the truth. What do you do?" That they had to get to that, and they ended up with this guy standing right next. He was the most important person on that sideline. He was more important to Jesse Minter than Jim Harbaugh or anybody else on the thing. It was Connor Stallions. He was the most important. He became this $50,000 a year employee became the most important game ball winning, most important guy there on the sideline, and they're going to claim they didn't know what he was doing? Give me a break. Give me a freaking break. Like you said, it's their family, it's their legacy, it's their future, it's their kids' schools, it's their wife's mink coat, it's their house. Everything is based upon this $50,000 a year nutball getting it right. You want to know, how does he know? How exactly do you know? What do you know? And he had to give them the whole process. There's no chance that he took shortcuts and just said, "Well, I'm a savant. I can look at flashcards. I look at the all 22," because nobody believes that. Nobody, you don't believe that. I don't believe that. Certainly, these guys didn't believe that. These guys all knew.
Yeah, there's just no chance it could happen. So it's like I said, these guys are making multiple millions. They've been these guys have been coaching for 10 years, 8, 10, 5, 15 years, from the time they were GAs, and they've seen it all. So again, if someone's gonna say, "Hey, I can do this," then it's not just, okay, golly gee whiz, that's amazing. It's like, no, show me how you do it. Bob Myers, thank you for the 10. Nevada, will there be any penalties handed down to South Carolina for accepting the helpless signs against Tennessee and Clemson? There should be. It cost Tennessee a berth. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know the detail. That'll be one of the interesting things of reading this final report, because when this final report does come out, it's going to be, you want to talk about the show of shows. I mean, that's going to be reading material for days. And I really want to know the details of that, because you mentioned Central Michigan earlier. The Central Michigan scandal cost Central Michigan its head coach resigned from a multi-million-dollar position over this singular event. He lost his job. In addition to Jake Costner, who's irrelevant. Jake Costner, who just happens to be mentioned in the Sharon Moore deleted text messages, where Connor Stallion says, "Hey, Sharon, Jake Costner from Central Michigan and I want to talk to you about something." Like, I wonder what that was about, Kirk. What could that possibly have been about? Do you think it had anything to do with the sign stealing? It's like, oh yeah, probably. That's probably why Sharon Moore uh, deleted these innocuous texts from his phone, because he was tied to a guy that was fired and disgraced from Central Michigan that cost Costner's job. So if it cost the Central Michigan head coach his job, um, could South Carolina receive some sort of sanctions for playing some sort of role in this? If they did, I'd have to see the dots connected. But if they did, I certainly would expect something to happen to South Carolina for doing that, because that was wrong. The question is, can they? While the Central Michigan thing was clearly wrong, having a guy on the sidelines in spyglasses, the Michigan thing was clearly wrong because everybody would knew, could knew, had to know. South Carolina, do they have plausible deniability that they didn't know how he came across these? Maybe. I don't know. So I'll have to read more to find out.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that all comes out. I don't think they're going to get penalized for it, but it's I don't know. It is what it is at this point. All right, Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just I mean, look, Hammer Week. This is Hammer Week going into Wednesday. It's Hammer Week Wednesday Eve. So the next best day of the week, the Hammer Tuesday, is Hammer Wednesday, and we're probably going to have the great Justin Spear on in the honor of Hammer Week, in the spirit of the Michigan scandal. I'm not sure what day it's going to be, but he should be coming on to spread more Michigan wonder, and we'll dive into more stuff, including a detailed breakdown of how was it broken that Connor Stallions was on the sideline at the Central Michigan game? What was the how did that get broken? You want, like, we all know it. It's the big piece of this whole thing. It was the subject of a documentary, it's the whole thing. But we want to know, how did it get broken there? Justin Spiro may have the answers for that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I can't wait to have Spear on. All right, with that being said, thank you guys all so much for being a big part of the show. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys for being a big part of the show. Again, if you guys want to do something to help us in a major way, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Fight those trolls. The trolls are mean and angry. And you guys in your reviews can offset the low reviews that we get. So the 5 stars offset everything else. So again, appreciate you guys so much. Hammer Week continues tomorrow at 7:10. But as always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.